Well, good morning, everybody. Finally, huh? Welcome. What? Oh, okay. Well, we've started late today, but thank you for joining us in the Sparrow Quilt Company Stash Buster series. My name is Bradie, and I do apologize for keeping you all waiting this morning. It has been a Monday around here. We were off to a bit of a busy start, but now that we've got ourselves all gathered up, we are ready to get back to some sewing. So last week on Friday, we were working on squaring up our blocks and joining them together in rows. And this quilt that we're working on right now is called Almost Houndstooth. And if you have not yet downloaded that one, then go ahead and visit us at sparrowquiltco.com. You're just going to click on the banner there on the front page, and you can enter your email address, and we will send you this pattern, this free pattern, by email. And then you can follow along in the fun, and hopefully you'll be able to use up some of the fabrics in your stash. We chose a fabric line called Curiosities for this one, and it has just got some really fun prints in it that were nice and big, so I didn't want to cut them up too small. And that's what made it a good choice for this quilt, because it still showcases those nice big prints. And another great thing about this quilt is that it goes nice and fast. It's super duper easy. You just maybe want to keep yourself a little bit organized when you are putting everything together. My biggest mistake when I was putting these blocks together was remembering that these two little triangles are going to point to the center of the block. I put a few of them together and then sat there kind of stumped staring at it. Why doesn't it look right? And that's what it was. I accidentally rotated a block or two. So just pay close attention when you're putting your blocks together. Today we are going to continue on with squaring the blocks and then just putting them together in rows, and hopefully for next time we will be able to move along to the quilting process. We can show you how we load those quilts on the frame if you've never seen that before. Okay. So now that you're all starting to find us, being as we started a little bit late, I'm just going to tell you that we are working on this Almost Houndstooth quilt, which you can get the pattern at sparrowquiltco.com. Hopefully you've got it already. But if this is your first time joining us, you can visit us at the website there, and we will send you an email with the pattern attached, so that you can follow along in the fun. And if you've not seen any of our videos before, then you can check out the Stash Busters page on our website there, and you can see all the prior videos that we've done. The last quilt that we did was called Stay Centered, and it was a log cabin style quilt, and it was really fun and nice and easy. So check out all those videos. We've also done some other tutorial type videos, just specifically on blocks or just specifically on a technique such as binding. Pardon me, we just finished that one up this weekend. So if you're not a big fan of binding like me, then you might find that machine binding video really helpful, because it helps you get the job done quicker, and it helps you get the job done in a way that doesn't require hand sewing, and I'm a big fan of that. So where are you all watching from today? It is one of my favorite things to do after the video, is to go through and see where everybody was watching from. We've had people from all over the world, and it just blows my mind that there are quilters far and wide watching us, but I guess that is the advantage of the World Wide Web, is that it connects us in ways that we never thought possible before. So have you been stitching up this Almost Houndstooth quilt, or perhaps you stitched up the Stay Centered quilt prior to this? We really want to see your photos, and we'd love to share them on our Facebook page and on our Instagram feed. So email them to us or send them to us by private message here on the Facebook page. And in case you weren't aware, we stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We normally start at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Bit late today, I'll admit, but that's our normal scheduled time. And if you've missed, and we do that on the Facebook page, but like I said earlier, you can find all those videos on the website and on YouTube as well. So I hope you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I hope that you will like our Facebook page. Sorry, I just got a sneeze there, tickle in my nose. I'm keeping my Kleenex handy. All right. So I'm going to start up with squaring these blocks. My friend Darcy that did all my sewing for me did an exceptional job, and they are all pretty much bang on. I've hardly had to trim anything at all. But what I'm aiming for with these blocks is 8.5 inches, and that one is good. So I just like to square all my blocks before I join them all together, and that way my quilt turns out more accurate. If you have a block that is a little bit bigger than the rest, what happens is you get a little bit of excess fabric in that block, and when you lay it out flat to quilt it, it kind of bulges up in the on the long arm frame. At least you may not notice it as much when you're domestic quilting, but when we're quilting on the long arm, you know, sometimes you'll get a block and it's just got some excess fabric in there, and we jokingly call that a D cup. Well, I guess depending on the size of it, as in, you know, a brassiere or a bra. So my foolproof plan to prevent that excess fabric is to square all my blocks, and then everything that I'm joining together is in theory the same size, and hopefully will avoid any of that bulging of blocks, which nobody likes. We all want our quilts to turn out perfect. I don't know why though. We humans aren't perfect. Why do we expect perfect quilts? This way? Okay. Matt says we need to rearrange that a little bit. So there we go. All right, that block looks bang on as well. And this is fun because you get to see all my cute fabrics that I've got in my quilt here today. There she is, Miss Landon. Bang on again. So this one here I see at the bottom here, it looks like I could trim that up just a wee bit. We're a bit short there. That'll be fine. So I think what I'm going to do is trim this bottom edge and trim this top edge because both of them are bulging just a little bit. So I'm going to use my blue squaring ruler, and I've got my slip stop on the back there. I've just got it flipped over so you can see it's kind of sandpaper-like, and it really does grip my fabric quite well, which I love. I've been quite spoiled by these rulers. I went home and was squaring up with my old ruler the other day, and it was slipping and sliding all over the darn place, and I was getting frustrated. So now I brought one of these guys home so that I can trim nice and easy at home, just like I do here at work. It just feels like a Monday today. Well, because it is. But some Mondays, you just breeze right through them. Not today. Not today, not so much. And that's okay. But be patient, stay tuned. Maybe you'll see a disastrous coffee spill or some such thing, but that's par for the course around here. Got a scratchy throat and a runny nose today. I know, I'm always complaining. I'm always sick, it seems, but must be winter in northern Alberta. I don't know why I expect anything different. All right. So this I'm actually going to leave this top edge because now that I've trimmed that bottom edge, my block isn't big enough anymore. So this one I'm going to have to fudge a tiny little bit, but that's okay. I just didn't like that bulge at the bottom there. It was giving me cause for concern. Now this quilt would be great even done scrappy. It does not have to be some coordinating fabric line. You could even just do it in two colors if you wanted to just do black and white or navy and white or red and black or red and black. That'd be awesome. You could make it look good in anything. I was actually joking the other day, what if we turn them on point? We could do like a Spartan quilt. You know, the racing that they do for, I think it's Reebok that does those races, but it's a big fitness thing. where people call themselves finishers and they do maybe like a triathlon or something like that. And they call themselves Spartans because they've accomplished this great act of demanding physical accomplishment. I currently desperately need the exercise, but I'm just currently not up for it whatsoever. Okay, our size is good here again. I went on a shopping trip yesterday. I needed to get a few new tops. And do you like my hearts? I'm just in time for Valentine's Day. But it was very, very humbling as I went into the change room with my normal size. And you should have seen me wrestling with those clothes in the change room. You did not want to see me. But anyways, I've gone up a size so that I can be more comfortable. And I might be partaking in an exercise program of some sort very, very soon. Although I think my pace will be more along the yoga lines than like Spartan triathlons or anything like that. Oh, it's so much quieter. Do you guys hear the long arms when we're talking? When I'm talking? I always wonder if it overpowers my voice because they seem so loud to me, but I hope that my mic doesn't pick it up. That one's not bad either. What's that? Oh, yes. A reminder from Miss Landon that we have got a Valentine's Day sale coming. So that is going to be, is it buy one? Okay. I can't tell you. I can't tell you, but I can tell you there's going to be a sale. That's all you get. That's all you get. And we'll just say it's a sweetheart of a sale, and it's for Valentine's Day. So I'm assuming that they'll share more with you later. For now, we're all in the dark, me and you both. Did everybody have a good weekend? We had some warmer weather on Saturday, and then Sunday and today, right back to bitter cold. It's been a bit of a cold winter for us here, but again, northern Alberta, I don't know what we expect. I always laugh at the idea of the groundhog coming and saying 6 more weeks of winter. Well, we always get 6 more weeks of winter up here, whether that groundhog sees his shadow or not. Pardon me just a moment. Oh. All right. I even brought my box of Kleenex with me today. So my blocks all look fantastic. I don't have any other trimming to do. Now I'm just going to start joining them together in rows. Something got mixed up here. I was going to do green first. Let's mix these back and forth. And the great thing about this is that you don't have to have any certain layout. You could kill yourself trying, like literally drive yourself nuts, trying to decide on the layout and making it all work. Ooh, but what I do have to remember is my empty white blocks. So I don't want to get too far without those. Well, I'm just going to start sewing these together and we will fit those white blocks into the remaining rows. 4 blocks in 4 other rows. It's going to work out just fine. Pardon my fruit fly brain. Sometimes don't get to be on top of everything, especially on a Monday morning. Can any of you relate? Are y'all having a typical Monday morning out there? I'm hoping I'm not the only one. So, today we are using fork pins, and I've told you guys before about how I really like my seams to nest into one another, and that keeps my seams all lined up really well. So in all of these blocks, we have pressed the seam allowance up towards the large print block. I'm going to alternate every second one and push it down so that my seams come together nicer. So on this second block, I'm just going to take that and push it down. And then later when I press my rows, I'll just repress that. Yeah, what I might do, Christine, what I have done in the past, in my earliest sewing days before I got the idea, before I just got more precise in my sewing, I would just quickly measure all of them. And I try to find an average number that's going to work for everything. Some are usually a bit smaller, some are usually a bit bigger. But if you can find a middle ground and try and get them all as close together as possible, that's your best plan. But sometimes you'll settle on a number and then you'll find one block that isn't even that big. So if you quickly measure them all first, then you'll know kind of what you need to aim for. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you here my seams, the way they're folded before I go and put my fork pin in. Some of you have heard me yapping about fork pins before, and so I'm just going to show you it is a U-shaped pin. Hopefully you can see that well, with two sharp points. And the magic in this pin is that it just brings those seams together really, really well. So I'm going to fold this back so that you can see those seams kind of touching further down. And because I haven't pressed this, it's actually a little bit harder to show you. But I'm just making sure that those two seams in the block are touching each other. And I'm just going to poke this in and back out. And like I said, later when I go to press this row, I will press this seam so that it's now facing the other direction. I'm going to go ahead and pin my 4 pairs before I start sewing. Oh, I have a pin cushion at home and it's got all my pins in it, and it's actually a little 4 patch. And I got 1 quadrant for fork pins, 1 quadrant for flower head pins. Is that what they're, sorry, the question was, can they just go into a regular pin cushion? Yeah, they just go into a regular pin cushion, no problem, you bet. But I just sort them based on the quadrant that they're in. The different types of pins helps me feel organized. Might be an illusion. So let's see if we can kind of finger press this back a little bit. It's got a little bit of resistance because these 2 seams that are coming up this way are actually pushing that seam up. So that's where I need to put my, the bulk of my pressure is where those seams are. And hopefully we can get that to lay flat. Pardon? Yeah, I'm not worried about it. Thanks, honey. We got an easy going show today. We're going to go with the flow. It's a Monday morning show. All right, so here again, we are going to poke in, poke out. And it's also really important to make sure that the rest of that is square too. I usually try to make sure that these are also square, not just here. I don't know if that makes sense, but if I sew it, you know, kind of wonky, say kind of sitting like that, that's not going to be accurate, right? So I like to make sure that the bottom 3 sides of the block are lined up to each other as well, and then that tells me that things are truly square, at least in theory. So because the first one I did is the first of the row, I'm putting each new piece that I pin underneath so that I will pin, you know, piece them in order. Look, we match. So I guess we should talk about a giveaway, hey guys? A giveaway today. We could do fork pins again. What did we do last time? A ruler and a cutter. Anyways, I'll ponder for a moment. But either way, in order to be entered for the giveaway, you guys are going to share this video. And I hope you know how to do that. But if not, you're just going to look underneath the video and you'll see the option to like, comment, or share. And share is the option you're going to choose. And you're just going to share that with your Facebook buds. And hopefully all your quilty friends will see it and be able to join you in the fun. Now these patterns that we are sharing as part of the Stash Buster series, they're all free patterns, and you can use them as you like. We had someone write the other day and ask if I minded her using it for charity quilts. Absolutely not. Go ahead, use it. It is, I'm flattered and honored that you want to use it. Okay, push this the other way. So hopefully you've shared that video. Let's go ahead and give away today some fork pins, because I think everybody should use fork pins in their projects. They're a bit of a pain in the thumb sometimes. You might poke yourself, but I do think that doing your best to get your nice, accurate, precision sewing is going to give you the best results. Okay, there we go. So a couple of weeks ago, as part of the Stay Centered quilt tutorials, we did a big long video on machine binding. And this weekend we redid that video so that it's just the machine binding. So it's a little bit quicker, more to the point, not quite as lengthy. So I hope that you'll check that out. And if you haven't gotten the Almost Houndstooth pattern yet, then you're going to visit us at sparrowquiltco.com and you are going to download that pattern for free. Now my table's just a little bit tall, so I'm going to lower it down so that I'm not sewing with my elbows around my ears. It's definitely not ergonomic. Now I was going to set up my seam guide, but because I'm using pins, it's hard to use my seam guide. So we're going to make sure that we're sewing with a scant 1/4 inch seam, and that will give us the precision that we're after. And like I'm always preaching at you, hold those threads. Pull them to the back of the machine when you start sewing. Oh, great. Landon says there's... Sorry? Awesome. So I hear you guys have been watching the video. That's awesome. I'm glad you like it. It's, I was trying to explain at dinner last night, it's not that I truly hate binding. It's just that once the quilt is quilted, I'm like, it's close enough to done. I can just start using it now. But then once I need to wash my quilt, then it's time to actually bind it. So I always do it by machine. I did a giant queen size. It felt like a giant quilt. It was pretty big. I think it was about 120 by 120. And I stitched it all by hand, you know, machine onto the front and then stitched the hand binding on the back. And within about a year, my hand binding started to let go. And I had to redo the whole thing anyways. So the second time I did it by machine, and I thought, why don't we just do it by machine in the first place, and then I don't have to worry about doing it a second time, because I'm really a fan of just doing things right the first time and not having to come back and touch it a second time. So that's why I have resorted to doing machine binding. Then I know it's done well, and it's not very likely that I will ever have to do it again. I just want it to be done and finished. And if I'm not putting it into a quilt show, then it really doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be judged, nor should it be. All right, so yes, I do sew over my pins, but you're going to slow down a little bit when you're stitching over those pins, because if the needle hits the pin, it is likely it will break. And if it breaks, then it may fly up into your eyeball. And that doesn't sound fun at all. Nobody likes that. Have any of you ever sewn over a finger? I never have. But I hope it never happens. Now I'm kind of asking for trouble, aren't I? But I did see a picture on Facebook the other day, and the person had sewn through their finger and the needle was still in there. And I thought, I'm not sure I would have it together well enough to take a picture of that. I'd probably just be losing it. Because you would have to like remove the needle from the machine. I just can't imagine even trying to stay calm in that scenario. I'd just be losing it. Hey, Tai-Shai. I've got daughter number 2 here as well today, so 1 and 2 behind the camera watching. Not that any of you can see them, but I can see their beautiful faces. All right. So I want to keep these in order. The last one is the last of my row, so I need to keep myself semi-organized. And I know that the first one I did was the beginning of my row. So now I can start joining these in pairs. These are my 1 and 2. And there you can see how the fork pins helped me bring that seam together really nicely. I'm very happy with how well that pieced. It looks bulky right now because the seam has not been pressed, but we'll take care of that later. Look at that one. Well, we'll be fixing that first. Okay, how'd I do on the rest? That one looks good. That one looks good. So that was the last. We'll pin these first because we did these ones right. Over her nails. That doesn't sound fun at all. What went wrong here? Oh, I see. Okay. So part of this seam is turned the way I want it to, but the ending of it was not. So I just have to be boss and tell it where I want it to go. Hopefully I've got this right. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. They're all just pretty. They'll all work just fine no matter where they end up. There we go. So I'll pin this one first, and then I'm going to rip those 2 blocks apart. It's funny, maybe Matt was looking through photos the other night, and he found all my photos from when I was making this quilt, and it was 3 years ago in February, exactly 3 years ago. Landon has volunteered to rip it. I'm not going to turn down that offer. I will take you up on that. So if you don't know, I've got my oldest daughter, Landon, behind the camera. She's my little producer, and she shares your questions and she shares your comments. So if you have a question that you would like to ask, please leave it in the comments, and then we will do our best to answer your question here in the video. And the good thing is that these videos are not just available live. Facebook captures the video and saves it there on the Facebook page, so you can watch it whenever it's convenient for you. A lot of people work during the day and therefore cannot watch the videos live, but if you watch it later in the day or tomorrow or whenever, I still check the videos every once in a while, looking for comments and questions. So if you have something that needs to be addressed, still leave it on the video. I may not answer it immediately, but I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. All right, that looks good. So we're just waiting for the in-between there, and that'll just take her a moment. I've got 1 more row over here that I can keep working on. What's your favorite block to make? My favorite block to make? Easy ones. I really like 9 patches. This was one of my favorite quilts just because it's so easy and just so fast. I really like the look of a churn dash quilt, and I think there might be something coming up soon with those. I don't know. I like them all. It's pretty rare to say, ugh, I don't like that quilt, because all quilts are beautiful, I think. Let's see. Yeah. So the quilt that was in the binding video was just half square triangles, and Landon pieced that quilt, and she arranged it in sort of a chevron formation, so that so simple. I love triangles. I got to admit, triangles are one of my favorite things. You find them creeping into almost every single pattern that I come up with. And yeah, so I must deep down just have a thing for triangles because I always seem to bring them in. So the question is, do my daughters look like me? I think Landon does. Miss Tylee, I think, takes more after the sparrow side. If you want to see Landon, you can go check out the Friday video. It was her birthday, and I dragged her on camera with me, so you can get a look at her. You really what?
I willingly walked.
She says, I willingly walked onto camera, which is true. Yes, she did. There was no like physical dragging, but if it were up to her, she would keep her seat over there. We'll see what we can do about getting this girl on camera. Thank you. Lovely. All right, we can repair that in just a moment. Hopefully I can get it right this time. Thank you, sweetheart. Okay. So yes, now we're just carrying on with pinning these blocks together. Our youngest daughter, her name is Sophie, and she is 10. And my oldest son has a girlfriend named Jay. And Jay fits right in with us. Like, you honestly would think she's one of ours. And Sophie looks exactly like a miniature Jay. So people think that Jay is my daughter all the time because these girls look so much alike. But it's funny how looks work out sometimes. Maybe. The question is, will I be doing a 9-patch demo? Yes, most definitely. I'm already pondering it. Hey, Darcy, I didn't know you were up there. I should have dragged her on camera so you guys could meet Darcy. Oh, I've already got this block in that row. Man. Oh, well. Got to use all the fabrics. That's okay. I'm going to move this arrangement around so that I can work in my empty blocks because I forgot all about those babies. It's a good thing this head of mine is attached. Some days I don't know where I would leave it. But I think that's just a sign of a creative mind, so I chalk it up as a good thing. Teaches you to go with the flow, that's for sure, but that is a skill that I've learned more from having 10 children than having a scattered brain. Or perhaps it's a combo of all of it. But you just learn to go with the flow when you got a family this size. Otherwise, you'd spend a lot of time stressed out and uptight. Okay, so these will be the last two in this row. And hopefully I can get them all together correctly this time. Got another tickle here, guys. This is the joy of doing a live talk show. Although it's a quilting show, it is a quilting talk show. Do you ever see Ellen sick on camera? Probably not. Surely some talk show hosts are sick at some point in time. And if they don't show it, they're liars. They get that kind of nasally. I just think you got to keep it real. Like, why are we trying to be something we're not? I often look at other people's Instagram feeds and I'm like, oh, their Instagram is so beautiful and perfect. I want mine to be like that too. And then I'm like, you know what? Tylee, come in. So this is Tylee, whom you've never met before. She's our number 2 daughter, and she works here too. She does a lot of our graphic design and photography and all that good stuff. So thanks. She's saying she can make my Instagram look perfect for me. But I've decided to just be proud of being real.
We can make you a certain account, though.
Oh.
Like, nice account.
Nice. Okay.
I want, like, personal one.
So Tylee's theory is that we could have two accounts. One will be the perfection account, and the other one will be like the spilled coffee on the ground and the messed up blocks that you've seen. The reality. The real Bradie Sparrow. And the other one can be the contrived Bradie Sparrow. Yeah. I don't know. I guess I think people like it when they see the reality, you know. They're like, oh, that doesn't only happen to me. Makes me more relatable, maybe. Okay, so I got 4 more seams to sew here, and then we'll have another row ready to stitch together. Now, guys, have you shared this video? I know you all are just pining away for a free set of fork pins. So go ahead and share this video so that you can be entered into the draw, and at the end of the video today, we will choose a winner. I really do highly recommend the fork pins. I use them more than any other type of pin, although I do love my flower head pins too. I'm sorry, repeat that question?
Do you have a person whose line of fabric is your go-to? I don't know if it's Moda, Bradie, or if it's...
So I have always been a Moda fan. And the past year or so, I've really started to fall in love with Riley Blake. So those are my 2 top contenders, is Moda and Riley Blake. I rarely look at any other fabric lines. For Moda, I would suggest anything Bonnie and Camille, anything by Gingerbread. I love Kate Spain's stuff. There's rarely a Moda line that I'm like, eh. No, I love them all. And Riley Blake, too, I love almost all their stuff. I really like Amanda Herring's stuff. But there's a lot of great designers for Riley Blake that I don't know off the top of my head, but I love them all, too. Let's admit it. I just love fabric. I want it all. This new Yes Please line, what's her name? Allison? Jennifer Allison? Yep, Jen Allison. Love her stuff. Although this is the only line I've seen by her. So, in my opinion, she's off to a great start. She may have a dozen fabric lines, and I'm just... There's a lot of, like, paper or stationery companies that have now gotten into fabric, and they used to do like scrapbooking paper. So one of them is like, a lot of them for Moda are like Basic Gray. There's one for Cotton and Steel, and their Rifle Paper Company, and I love all their stuff. Their debut line was called Les Fleurs, and it was beautiful, beautiful. I was late to the party, didn't get it ordered in time, and so I'm still crying over that. Maybe someday I'll get lucky and just stumble upon a fat quarter bundle in some little quilt shop in my travels, and I'll have to snap it up. But I love bright colors. I love modern prints, and I love flowers more than I expected to. When I first began quilting, I didn't think I would love flowers, but oh my goodness, these tiny little floral prints, some of my favorites. I love that type of stuff. But I have to admit, my taste has changed over the years. There was a while I was really into like reproduction type stuff. Oh, my French generals. Oh man, still love all that stuff. Just finished a quilt in French general. But now for me, it's brights and modern. Yes. So Landon says that Karen is putting her blocks together today. Nice job, Karen. And Mary is squaring. Nice job, Mary. Great choice. I'm glad you are squaring them. Pull these pins. Snip these threads. So you can see here that I'm chain piecing, so I just do one after the other and it saves a bit on thread, and then I just come back later and snip them all apart. It's also easier to just continue sewing rather than cutting your thread. It just flows nice and easy. Okay, we got those ones done correctly. Good. My points are nice. And that's the whole point of the fork pins, is to make sure that your points are nice and that your seams line up so that they line up well. We all know they're not giving this stuff away, so we want to put our best effort into using our fabrics. Make it all look pretty. Good. So I asked Sheila this morning if she would cut out the next quilt for the next pattern. It's going to be another fast and easy one, and it's going to be super cute. I can't wait for you guys to see it. Holy moly, it's already 10 minutes to noon. I just have to double inspect those little corners, center points. And those will look better after I press them, of course, but geez, I ended up with 2 fabrics in the same row. I'm really on a roll today. We're not going to worry about it. Are we? We're going with the flow, baby. All right, poke another pin in here. I got my seams going opposite directions. And I'm just so glad that you guys join me and keep me company while I sew each day. It makes it so much more fun when you got some company. Even if you are far away. And if you're local, we do sewing days on Tuesdays. That's a lot of fun. You can come in and bring whatever you're working on, and you can use the cutting area and the pressing area, and we'll set up a table for you, and you can just come in and sew. And it's always so fun when you go out and sew with friends. All right, so I'm going to give you guys one more chance to share that video, and then I'll have Landon choose a winner here in a couple of minutes. Yes, okay. Well, I wasn't sure if you wanted to go later or not. So we're going to go a little bit later today. We will hang in there for a bit and let you share that video a little bit more.
Just so long as the blocks aren't side by side.
That's true, Laura. Thank you. It's a pretty busy quilt. Okay. Okay. Pardon me. Now, I believe that was the start of my row, because I think I started with my pretty little ostrich. I really could, in theory, just switch it with part of that row. Wouldn't hurt anything to mix them up. And then that way I wouldn't have those 2 pinks in the same row. Those don't repeat. That's what we're going to do. We'll mix those up. And let's just have a look here. Either way, I'm going to have double something. Oh, if I put that over there, then I'm going to end up with 3 sets of words. Okay, nix that. Let's go back to this. At least those pinks are far apart. It'll be fine. I've always admired people who can just grab the next block and sew it on and not overanalyze. I drive myself crazy. The first time I did this, I laid it out and I had it all very organized, like all of this print was together and all of this print was together. And then Tylee, who you just met, and her friend were over, and I had them just randomly lay them out, and then we just went with random in the end, rather than trying to organize it and make it just right. Because it'll drive you crazy if you let it. So, hopefully you heard earlier, and I'm not allowed to tell you any specifics, mostly because I don't know any specifics, but we're going to be having a Valentine's Day coming up soon, a Valentine's Day, and there will be a sale on Valentine's Day. So I'm feeling very Valentine's-ish today with my hearts and my pink. But make sure to check out the website for that to see what the deals are going to be. All right, we've got another row, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it up so you can all see it. Sorry I got my back to you guys. I'll just be a moment. Having this quilt here is like a handy dandy design wall of sorts. We better pin that center too so it doesn't sag. There we go. All right. There we go. That's coming together really nice. I'm loving these colors. We had a couple of white background fabrics that we had to leave out because they just weren't strong enough on the white background to carry off the pattern. But that's okay. All right, I just need to join these. I got them right this time. So I might have used up all my free ripping coupons. You don't get that offer very often. Or someone else to do your seam ripping for you.
Alberta was always collecting and cutting fabrics for the Houndstooth part. It's not sure what background fabric to use. She's tired of white, black, gray, and creams. She's thinking of dark brown.
Ooh.
Dark brown and yeah. Color.
So Alberta commented that she is collecting fabrics, but she's not sure what background fabric to use. She's a little tired of the normals, whites, grays, and blacks. Yeah, as long as you have some contrast, Alberta, it doesn't really matter what color your background fabric is. We kind of went outside the box with the other quilt. It has a gray dot, and it worked really well with this Yes Please fabric line because those are all whites and blacks. And it did give the quilt a very kind of monochrome feel because it's just white, black, gray, and rose gold. But I love it. I love it. I might just take it home. Was trying to choose a backing fabric the other day, and we've got this black and white chevron that I think that'll work just fine. That's the biggest thing, is just making sure you've got some contrast so that you can see all your prints and so that you don't lose that houndstooth design. I thought my tension was bad there, but it's not. It's good. All right, so let's join this to this. And then we'll be done our second row. Yep, that bottom one is going to flip. Now, I'm not pressing today, but I really do recommend pressing as you go. It's going to give you the best results. pardon me, I told you the other day about the tiny blocks that I was piecing at home, and I was finger pressing as I went. And it was a lot of pressing to do at the end. So it really is best to press as you go. You're going to get more accurate results if you do that.
How many quilts do you make in a year, and what do you do?
I would say I probably make 10 to 12 quilts a year. I probably do pull off about one a month. Whether I start it and finish it in that month is questionable. But I do a fair amount of quilting. There was a while there where it seemed like I wasn't getting anything done, but then I had to remind myself that, you know, I have a busy life and I have small children. And I just tried to get back in the habit of sewing at least a few minutes a day. So if you can even make time for 10 to 20 minutes a day, you'd be surprised at how much that adds up, how much you really can get done just by dedicating that small amount of time. So for me, I just made the rule that once my 3 smallest boys were in bed, that would be my time to go and start sewing, because they were the busiest ones and they needed probably the most assistance and attention. And once those tiny guys were in bed, the older children are usually, you know, fairly independent. Now I probably sew at least an hour each night, and I'm getting more done than I used to. But I think it's really important for busy people to make time for the things that they enjoy, because otherwise life just becomes work and no fun. And you need to make time for yourself to do things that you love, and also take care of yourself, because we all get busy and we all start taking care of others first. So you have my permission to put yourself first sometimes and take a little bit of time to do the things that you love, so that you can get some enjoyment out of your very own life. Those dishes, they're going to wait. And that laundry, it's going to wait too. And no lives will be at stake, I promise. All right, so this will be the last seam on this row here. And then we can pin this baby up too. What are the ages of my children? Is that the question? Okay. Give me just a moment, because I actually have to think about this. All right, so we do have 5 children. Matt and I have been together since 1993, late 93. And we have our 2 oldest daughters, Landon and Tylee. They are 23 and 22, right? Yes, she turned 22 at the end of last year. So both those 2 girls were both born in the same year, if you can believe that or not. But Tylee joined us a little bit earlier than she was supposed to. She was a preemie. So those 2 girls are 23 and 22. Our oldest son is 18. His name is Gage. After Gage is Annika, and she will turn 16 next week. No, Friday, this week. And after Annika is Adelie, and she is currently 14. After Adelie is Tash, and he is 12. Then we have Sophie, who's 10. Ziegler is 9. Chael is 7. And little Kern is almost 6. So there's 5 girls and 5 boys. We are the mother and father of all 10, and we have been together for that long. And we are very fortunate. I can't imagine life any other way. It is a lot of fun, really crazy, but we love it. So that is the ages and names of all my babes. Well, there we go. There's another row together. And I'm not going to join these 2 because, like I said, I need to mix it up a little bit. And I'm wondering where my fabric got to that was going to be my blank squares. Just a moment, guys. Let me take a quick peek here. No, I don't see it there. Okay, I'll just start sewing one more row together, and that will be, maybe I'll just sew a couple of pairs together. rather than sew them together in full rows. Because like you can see here on the original quilt, I've got some blocks that are just blanks, nothing in them. And I could have done this one differently and just done 64 of the Houndstooth block. But I kind of like that random open spot. It gives us an opportunity to do something a little bit special with the quilting that you'll see a little bit more. And that's always fun. Gives the long armor some enjoyment as well. What originally happened, well, this is getting a little bit wonky, is I had a fabric in there that I didn't love. Or the blue wasn't quite right, maybe. Anyways, we ended up pulling it out because it didn't quite work with the rest. And I didn't want to piece a bunch more blocks. So I just threw in some empty blanks. And you know what? That's okay, because it's my quilt, so I can do what I want with it. And you can do the same thing with your quilts too. You're the one that bought the fabric. You're the one that put in all the work. Do what you want with your quilts. I think we can just tell the quilting police to get lost. Worry about their own quilts. Let's do this too. All right. There we go, 1206. I'm just going to grab some more blocks. I'll bring them back over and we will look at them for size. Okay. So hopefully you already know what we're up to today. If not, this is our almost houndstooth pattern, and you can find it at sparrowquiltco.com. It's currently a free download. And it is part of our Stash Busters series. And every once in a while we get the question still yet, what is the Stash Busters series and what is that about? And it is just an idea that we had back in December to start helping quilters use up what they have. I personally have a lot of fabric, more than I can probably ever use in my lifetime. And so why do we pick up all this fabric if we're just going to collect it? Although I did hear a funny comparison. On Facebook, there was a meme, and the theory of it was no one asks a stamp collector to mail their stamps. Why do you expect me to sew up all my fabric? Just to keep it in its original beautiful form. Which I understand, but I bought it so that I could make something beautiful. So let's go ahead and do that. So I hope to inspire you to also make something beautiful out of the fabrics that you love. And it's always my plan to do things that are quick and simple and that can be done easily by even a beginner. Although I'll admit a beginner probably isn't going to have a large stash of fabric, but we all have to start somewhere, right? I remember one of the first times I went over to my mom's to actually sew with her, and I felt like I was going shopping in her stash, like, oh, I love this, and I love this, and I love this. And being wise, she would only show me the stuff that she's already put into quilts. So, like, I've already made something out of that, so if you love it, you can have it. I find myself doing the same thing with my kids. I have a section of fabric that is just mine, and then I have another section where if they want to pull or play with any of that, they are welcome to help themselves. But if it's behind that glass cupboard, don't touch it. Because that's all my favorite stuff. That's where I put all... Oh, I didn't even mention Bonnie and Camille earlier, I don't think, but that's one of my favorite Moda designers too. I think I've got probably 6 of their fat quarter bundles. I don't even know how many collections they've put out, but I've got a lot of their stuff. But it is beautiful. You know, you can display it, make it part of your home decor. But finished usable quilts are so usable. You know, once you've got them done, then you can use them as gifts if you like. Give them to someone in a pinch. You know, there's oftentimes you'll hear about someone who's not well and maybe a comfort quilt is needed. So if you do have extra quilts laying around, then you're ready for any occasion. This one is a little bit, let's see. That I think I can just make work.
A little bigger.
It's a bit low here and a bit high here, but my high point is 8.5 and my low point is a bit less. So I think what I'll do when I lay out the other block, this will be my outer edge, and I'll just have to let this stay low in the seam allowance. It won't be the end of the world. We'll make it work. Do most of my kids quilt. So when the two older girls, Landon and Tylee, were teenagers or pre-teens even, we used to do a junior quilt guild at the house. And that amounted to a lot of snacking and talking. Not so much a lot of quilting, but yeah, we did some little 9-patch quilts for those girls. And then Paige's mom was going in for surgery, so we all rallied together and did a rag quilt for her, didn't we? Yeah. So now that the girls are older, Tylee hasn't done any quilting in a while, although she has attempted a few garments here and there. And Landon seems to prefer the long arming end of quilting, although I did drag her on a retreat with me last year and I saw her piece quilts. Yeah, the one for Ryan's sister, cousin. Did you finish that one ever? No. So yes, we all have UFOs, all of us. Now, as far as the next children, Gage has done a little bit of sewing. Annika and Adelie, I'm not sure they've made quilts. They hand-stitched a bunch of stuff when they were really small, and Adelie actually has to make a quilt for school coming up here pretty quick, so I'm going to get her going on our next quilt pattern, because it's really fast and easy. And little Sophie, she loves to quilt. You guys may have even seen her in some videos. She pieced a strip quilt, not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before. And then she actually long-armed it herself. So that actually inspired a lot of quilters to get going on their own long-arm skills, because if Sophie can do it, then anybody can do it. But it's funny how seeing a child doing something kind of gives us that kick in the pants that we need. If we doubt ourselves, you see a small child doing it, you're like, oh, maybe I can do that. But I think the biggest trick is just keeping it simple. When you start, don't choose something too complex. Which I have done way too many times. You've all seen my Bargello, or perhaps you have not, but look in some of the other videos, you can see a black and gold Bargello in the background. That one was a little bit beyond my skill level when I began. And my Circle of Life, someday I'll show you guys that one. That one was definitely beyond my skill level when I began it. It's a miracle I finished it. Well, and finished is kind of open to interpretation there, because I did not do the border on it. I just stopped and said, we're done here, and Landon quilted it. But it still looks terrific. And hopefully Jacqueline de Jong will never come around and see it. Although I believe she lives in Holland, or... Do you know, where does Jacqueline de Jong... Where's she from, Sheila? The Netherlands. It's not very likely she's ever going to walk through my door and see my quilt that I made of her pattern that's not really finished. And it does not have binding. I really should bind it. I've got lots of fabric left over from the border that I didn't piece, so I guess I really could. All right. Well, it's 12:15. how about we choose a winner, please? You mind? So Landon's going to choose a winner from all of you that shared the video, and the winner today is going to receive their very own package of fork pins, which I hope that you will love. They're not for everybody. I taught a Bargello class a couple of years ago at another quilt shop before we had this quilt shop of our own, and everybody had to buy fork pins to make this Bargello. And at the end, one of the students, who was a good friend of my mom's, came in and gifted me with all of her fork pins, and she said, I will never effing use these again. So I have a good collection of fork pins at home. One more time.
Christine.
All right, so our winner of the fork pins today is going to be Christine Deering. Christine, please send us a private message in the Facebook inbox. Please don't leave your personal information here on the stream. What I need is your email, your phone number, and your mailing address. I was thinking about doing a flash sale on red grunge. Do you guys like grunge fabric? I've got tons of red. Will you pass me that bolt up there? So grunge is normally, I believe, oh, yeah, there it is, $31 per meter. This is 108 wide. So because it is almost Valentine's Day, and this is red for Valentine's Day, let's do grunge at 25% off. We're going to put that into the system. You won't need a coupon code. We're just going to lower the price. We'll do that in the next couple of minutes. So if you need some red quilt backing, this is 108 wide, you can get this grunge at 25% off. And like I said, we will have that on in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to put this one over here for a moment. What's that? Oh, hi, Kathy. If you guys aren't familiar with Kathy Strawson, she is a local quilter, one of our very good friends, and we did a trunk show with her, not last week, but the week prior, where we did 90 minutes, and Kathy just walked us through all of the quilts that she has made in this century, and it is a great and inspiring trunk show. I hope that you'll take the time to go and watch it. You can find it on the Facebook page and on YouTube. Is it on YouTube too? Hopefully it's on YouTube as well. But if you are looking for some inspiration, maybe just a little kick in the pants, go and watch that trunk show. Kathy's a lot of fun, and it was a privilege to have her on the show. So I hope you guys will check that out, as well as that binding video. I hope that you guys find some useful tips in that binding video. It's always nice to get a job done fast and easy, and I got some nice tips in there to get you going in the right direction. And the honest truth is, you don't need a lot of the tools that I show you in that, but a lot of those tools just make the job fast and easier. So you can get by doing your binding without them, but they'll make your job easier. All right, guys, my nose and my throat are doing me in. I'm going to call it a day. But thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back again on Wednesday morning at 10:30, and hopefully we will be getting ready to quilt this beautiful almost houndstooth quilt, and we can show you how we're going to load it on the frame, pick a pattern, choose a thread, all that good stuff. And don't forget that the show is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And check out the website, sparrowquiltco.com, for all our prior videos. If you're having trouble finding them, then check it out on YouTube. You can find all the videos there as well. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.